So this is the interface for Media Composer. Yours might look a little bit different, but as we discuss each part of the interface, I think you'll be able to start figuring out what yours looks like and how they relate to how mine look. This window here is the project window. And basically the project window is very analogous to Final Cut Pro's browser. It basically is where you keep all your bins. This is where all the media is. Everything has to go into a bin. The only thing that can go into the project window in the bins tab are bins. So if you want to be able to have, for example, a video or something, you have to open a bin and put your elements inside this bin. So this is the project window. There are multiple tabs to the project window. The bins tab is where you keep your footage, for example. So here's a bin with a bunch of footage inside of it. So if you're looking for a clip, you just double click it, it comes into the source window. Other than the bins themselves, in the bin tab, you have settings. Settings is where you can set numerous controls. This is a little bit different than Final Cut because Final Cut tends to have its settings in multiple locations throughout the interface under multiple menus. Avid kind of localized them in a single place. So if you're trying to get bin settings or audio project settings, everything is pretty much in one spot. If you want to be able to see, for example, what the keyboard layout looks like, there's a keyboard setting in here, which is very similar to Final Cut's keyboard setting. And so all the settings are in this tab. The next tab over is the effects tab. This is where you can place all your effects. It's similar to the effects menu setting in Final Cut Pro. Format is just a place where you can revise some of the settings that you set up initially under project settings. You remember we chose 30i NTSC if we felt like this was going to be a 1080p project, or maybe when we started bringing the footage in, it wasn't all 16:9 and we wanted to work in 4:3, then we could change that here. Usage is an interesting kind of thing. There's really nothing in Final Cut that I'm aware of that's similar to this. It lets you know how long you've been working on a specific project. It lets you know how long the title tool's been open, how long you've been digitizing, how long you've been rendering. And so it gives you some things maybe for, say, billing. It lets me know that even though we're kind of just opening this project, I've already worked on it for 1 hour and 20 minutes already, this project. And it tells you when the project was created and so on. Info lets you know what hardware you have going, what your drive space looks like, for example, and memory for RAM, how much of your memory you're using. Let's go back to bins, because bins is the main way that we keep our project window open under bins, because that way we have access to all our media. So this is the project window. That's one element. The next element we have, which is probably the next most important thing, is the composer window. The composer window is similar to the canvas window and the viewer of Final Cut Pro. On Avid, those two windows are a single window. You get the source window here and basically what the timeline shows you here. Avid calls this the source and record window instead of viewer and canvas. And of course, the record window is tied to the timeline window. So this is where you see your sources and your sequence. And down here at the bottom of the interface is the timeline. Obviously, it doesn't have to be blown up quite this big. It can be smaller than this. You can resize it so that you have more room for other elements, for example. This would give you more room for another bin. And that's basically the interface. And so the project window, the composer window, and the timeline window are the three main elements of Media Composer 5 UI.